Hey creepers! Welcome to the Mrs. Night Terror channel. Join me as I tell you spooky, shocking, and scary bedtime tales. Each story is a fictional narrative, so don't worry too much about it coming true. If you think you can handle it, listen closely and imagine yourself being part of each and every story I tell. Today, I have a truly terrifying story that'll send shivers up your spine, so grab a blanket, turn off the lights, and let's get started with this not-so-true crime nightmare. Tonight's tale is called The Landscaper. The sun arose beyond the horizon, casting long shadows over a small town as the landscaping team arrived at the old house at the end of town. The once beautiful home, now abandoned, stood eerily silent. It had belonged to a family whose lives were tragically cut short in a mysterious accident. Detectives were puzzled over their deaths, noting only that each family member had seemingly lost the ability to breathe, their bodies found arranged in a chilling star formation. Hired by the state to tame the overgrown yard, the landscapers started to work, hacking away at tall grass and overgrown weeds. As they made their way to the backyard, a strange sight caught their attention: a large stone tomb, partially obscured by the rampant foliage. The tomb looked ancient, out of place, as if it had been deliberately hidden. Larz, the lead landscaper, chuckled nervously, making a joke about haunted relics before urging his team to keep working. When lunchtime rolled around, Larz sat on the tomb to eat. As he settled, he accidentally shifted the lid, opening it a crack. A voice, barely a whisper, escaped the tomb, although he couldn't make out the words. Quickly he pushed the lid back, but it resisted, as if something inside didn't want it closed. It was far too heavy for him to push on his own, so it didn't make sense how he had pushed it with his body. But after a long day, Larz was tired, and he headed home. Feeling an unsettling chill he couldn't shake, he assumed that he was just coming down with something. He took some cold medicine and went to bed. But when he woke, he found himself not in his own home, but in an eerily quiet house, the one from the previous day. Disoriented, Larz stumbled outside, only to find his car missing, and no clear memory of how he had gotten there. Exhausted and bewildered, he walked back home, where he took more medicine and collapsed into his bed, hoping sleep would bring some clarity. The next morning, his phone rang early. His boss was on the line, demanding to know why the landscaping job hadn't been done. Larz, confused and frustrated, insisted they completed the work and promised to go check it out. When he arrived at the house, he was stunned to see the yard was more overgrown than ever, the tomb nowhere to be found. Feeling his grip on reality slipping, Larz decided to tackle the yard alone to appease his boss. By the end of the day, he had restored order and sent photos to his boss, though doubt gnawed at him. What was happening? That night, his exhaustion deepened. His thoughts grew muddled, and he convinced himself that everything was just a fever dream. As he drifted off, the voice from the tomb returned, clearer this time, calling his name. Too tired to stay awake, Larz succumbed to sleep, the voice echoing in his mind. When he woke the next morning, he felt inexplainably refreshed. It was Saturday morning, his day off, and he planned to get some yard work done at his own house. Stepping outside with his coffee, he froze. Hidden behind his apple tree, almost camouflaged, was the same tomb. His heart pounded as the voice in his dreams whispered again, louder, and more insistent. Larz approached the tomb, the air around it thick with an unnatural cold. As he reached out to touch the lid, a sudden realization hit him. The tomb had not been hidden by accident. It had been buried, concealed, to keep something inside, something that was now reaching out to him, drawing him closer. The lid slid open with a groan, and the whisper became a roar, engulfing Larz in darkness. Larz awoke to find himself in a dimly lit room, the air thick with the scent of decay. His eyes adjusted slowly, revealing walls covered in strange glowing symbols. Panic surged through him as he realized he was no longer in his yard, or even his own house. He was once again back inside the house from the day before. Only the home was not the same. It was darker and more unkempt. A flickering torch in the corner cast shadows on the now dingy and broken walls. As Larz struggled to his feet, he saw the source of the whispers, a cloaked figure in darkness, standing at the far end of the room. The figure's eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and its voice filled the room with an echoing chant. Larz backed away, his heart pounding. "Who are you? What do you want?" The figure stepped closer, and Larz could see its face, if you could call it a face at all. It was shifting, writhing mass of shadows, constantly changing shape, going from one face to two faces. It was as if it was a shapeshifter. Larz's mind raced. Why me? What did I do? The figure's laughter was chilling. It was a hollow sound. It spoke no words, just noise, although it did know his name. Desperation clawed at Larz. "No, I won't let you scare me. Leave me alone." The figure raised a hand, and Larz felt an invisible force constricting around him, squeezing the breath from his lungs. The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, pulsating with a dark energy. He saw the dark symbols etched into his floor, glowing faintly. The laughter of the figure echoed in his mind, a constant presence. Fear and anger surged through him. He couldn't live like this, with an evil entity controlling his every move. Determined to find a way out, Larz began researching ancient texts, seeking any knowledge that could help him banish the figure. Days turned into weeks, and Larz's obsession grew. His appearance became haggard, his eyes sunken and bloodshot, his skin pale. Friends and family noticed his strange behavior, but he pushed them away. His wife begged Larz to see a doctor. She knew he was both sick physically and mentally. It was affecting their kids, their pets, and their marriage. Unaware of the tomb or what Larz was really experiencing made Larz's wife curious. But she wasn't afraid. She continued life as usual and hoped that Larz would start feeling better once he got the help he needed. So he called his doctor and set up an appointment. And she messaged his boss asking him to allow Larz to have the week off due to his sickness. The next day, Larz was disoriented and in much need of rest and relaxation, but of course he refused. He approached the tomb, his heart pounding, unsure of what could happen this time. But just then, his phone rang. It was his boss, Mike, asking how he felt and telling him to take the week off. "Mike, did you guys move the tomb into my yard? Is this some kind of joke?" Larz asked, his voice shaky. Mike's laughter on the other end did little to ease his nerves. "What are you talking about, Larz? You still sick? Maybe you should take a nap. I'll be over soon with some soup." Just as Mike finished speaking, static crackled through the phone, followed by a sharp shock that made Larz drop it. At that moment, a bolt of lightning struck the tomb, sending a wave of force that knocked Larz to his knees. Mike's voice was lost in the static, and all Larz could hear was a faint echoing whisper coming from the tomb. By the time Mike arrived at Larz's house, it was too late. Larz and his family were found, laid out in the yard, their bodies arranged in the same horrific star formation as the previous family. The investigation yielded no clues. The cause of death was the same: lack of oxygen, protruding eyes, and contorted fingers. Friends and family gathered in mourning, the eerie circumstances surrounding Larz's death casting shadows over their small town. Mike, racked with guilt and sorrow, took it upon himself to maintain Larz's yard, ensuring it was kept neat and presentable. As he took a break to drink some water, he tripped over his own feet and fell face first into the tomb. It startled him as he saw it. "Where did that come from?" he said. The impact pushed the lid open just enough so that the echoing voice could escape. Mike's heart raced as he heard the whisper, calling out to him from the depths of the tomb. And as we draw curtains on this chilling tale, our hearts still racing and our minds haunted by the echoes of the unknown, remember, the darkness we've explored is but a glimpse into the abyss that dwells within us all. In the realm of the mysterious, we find both terror and fascination, and in these shadows, we confront the depths of human nature and the uncharted territories of the universe. Thanks to each and every creeper out there who takes their time of day to listen to my horrifying stories. Remember to follow me on TikTok, Instagram, and X, and also be sure to check out my Patreon for much darker tales. And fear not as you step back into the realm of the familiar. Let the shivers down your spine remind you that life's greatest mysteries are the ones that keep us awake at night, asking us to peer into the abyss and challenge the boundaries of our understanding. Until next time, dear listeners, may your dreams be undisturbed, and may you find solace in the light of day. Good night, and sweet dreams, if you dare.